Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back. In this video we're going to have a little look at the side plank, and we're going to have a look at some variations that you can use in the training program. The side plank is a fantastic exercise, core trunk exercise, in particular focusing on stability of working into our obliques. Okay, so rather than a front plank where it tends to be more central, we're going to look at loading up the obliques a little bit more. And really stabilizing them, which are really important for lots of day-to-day movements, but also lots of sporting movements where we need to be able to brace the trunk tight. Simple things like when we're running, a lot of that we need to learn to use the obliques correctly. If we haven't got any strength there, we're just going to flop over to the side, or we're going to over rotate. So first we're going to start off with a complete basic, and then we're going to work up step by step and look at some different progressions. So first things first, we're going to start off with a kneeling side plank. Okay, so if you're a complete beginner, this is what I would suggest to start with. Most importantly, we want to have a good position. So I want to have the elbow directly beneath the shoulder. So it might look a bit weird here, but I don't want to have it out in front of me. So right underneath. I then, to set up, if I have my body straight, I'm going to bend the knees at 90 degrees, but keep the legs straight. From here, I want to push into the knee and the elbow to try and raise my hips off the floor. With my top shoulder, I either want to have it up, so nice straight line, okay, or flat. But I don't want to be rounding, so I want to try and keep the shoulder back, so I'm in a good position, nice and neutral all the way down. What we don't want on here is those hips dropping, so I want to keep up. It should be a straight line all the way through. I should also be able to tighten my glutes, okay? So my hips should be forwards. I don't want to be back in a collapsed position here or twisting, okay? So that is the best one to start off with. We can then move that on to, if we want to work into the shoulder a little bit more, we can come into a full, so we can bring that up onto the shoulder. It's not hugely going to change the work in there. It might make it a little bit harder, but it's going to force the shoulder to get a little bit more work, and it's also going to require a bit more balance as well. Okay, so that's the next progression, going from that elbow all the way up onto the hand. Okay, the next one we're going to look at, we can then start looking at, maybe once we can hold that comfortably for 45 seconds, a minute, then maybe we can look at going into a full side plank. So exactly the same principles, elbow beneath, core tight, nice and strong. I don't want to feel like I'm collapsing into the shoulder. I want to feel like I'm pushing into it. So I'm coming up nice and tall, either there or there, and holding that position. Again, we can then do the same plank, but we can take that onto the hand. So instead of on the elbow, we're going to come up onto our hand position, core tight, and then again I'm holding. Now it requires a little bit more dynamic balance. I'm a bit higher up. And it's also going to require a nice strong shoulder there. So I want to push into the floor, make sure I'm not collapsing into my shoulder blades. Another progression variation we can look at, it's going to start working on the glutes a little bit more in the hip complex. We can just start adding some leg raises, okay? So firstly, we can look at that from our kneeling position. So if I'm in here, knees bent, drive up, and then we can look at leg raises up. So now I'm still getting oblique work, but I'm also going to start getting some work into that top hip, start getting a little bit of glute activation. So there's two variations you can use there. Dynamic, where we're coming up and down, or we can work an isometric. Isometric is where we're just holding the position. So if I come up and I'm just holding, okay? We're probably going to find the isometric more tiring on there if we're just holding it, because we're keeping that tense position the whole time. Whereas in the movement, we're allowed to come down, relax before we drive up. Okay, so I would suggest to start with, use the movement up and down, and then you can progress to just holding. Okay, again, obviously we can work that from a high position, and we can also do it from a full side plank. Okay, so if I'm in a full side plank, it might look into here, and I'm then going to work up. So leg up, it might be working up and down, or it might just be coming up and holding. Okay, so that's called a star side plank, that full one there, where we come up and we've got the leg up and we're holding. That is quite an advanced side plank, okay? So once you can, if you can start getting up to 45 seconds to a minute on there, then you're doing very well. Key things on the full star side plank, either on elbow or hand. Obviously on the hand's going to require quite a lot of balance now. Okay, key things on here, we can see straight away, it's quite a lot of demand in terms of balance. Key things, I want to keep this top leg nice and high. I'm keeping strong, I'm not collapsing, and I'm nice and stable, okay, through there. So that's another good one. Before you get onto there, I'm going to regress it a step. So another one we can put in, maybe just before we work up to that level, is just working on a knee crunch, okay? So on this one, we're in here, okay? We can just work in and press. In, press away. Okay, so I'm really getting that nice feel through there as I bring in and push it back away again. Okay, if we want to make that again at another level, a bit more dynamic, we can come arm over head, crunch, knee in the middle, press away. Crunch, press. Okay, so again, that's another little variation we can add in. I would suggest that's kind of before the star side plank. Probably going to find that a little bit easier, but again, play around with it. Finally, there's a few other variations we can look at. If we want to start integrating different movements and patterns, we could look at, if we've got a band, if we can attach a band to something out in front of us, then what we can look at, if I'm, let's say, for example, in my standard side plank, I might look at doing some banded rows. So imagine I've got a band in there, pull through, squeeze the shoulder blade back, come forwards, drive through, okay? Make that more challenging. More challenging. Okay, so many different variations to use. Start building up. So start at the most basic level. The basic was just our kneeling side plank on the elbow. Then onto the hand. Then we're going to progress up the ranks. Start by going into just a normal side plank and holding. One important thing for this is try and make sure you're level on